This is a video of how to use Logger Pro to make a graph. You can see that I'm using Logger Pro 3.16 and I'm also using a Mac. I've got here some data. It's from Ohm's law, so I have some voltage and some current. And you can see I've got units at the top and it's already here in a table, but I'm going to put it into my Logger Pro. All you need to do is click on the cell and enter your data. Now you can see that as I've entered the data, the graph has already been created. One thing I want to point out is if you're doing IB, we do have an issue here with this data table because it's changed the number of significant figures that I have. That means that if I'm doing IB, I actually don't want to include this table in my lab report. I would like to have the real data looking like this. Okay, so now there's a few things to make this look like a real graph. First of all, you can see that we don't have the entire x-axis used here. So one of the easiest ways to do that then would be to go to this button. You can see it's popped up, Auto Scale Graph. Now it's using all of my area, but you can see it doesn't start at 0, 0 anymore. We could have got around that by going up to the top, choosing Graph Options, and we can have our axes, X and Y, starting at 0. Auto Scale from 0. Auto Scale from 0. Now on my graph, I also have this values of X and Y, but that's not really what we want to have. Our X values are delta V in volts. So I'm going to go to the top of my table here where it says X. If I double click on there, I get this screen. So its name is not X, it should be delta V. By the way, on a Mac, delta is option J. And notice down here, short names, I'm just going to leave that blank. If my name was too long, like for example, I wanted to have potential difference, I could then put down here in the short name, delta V, which would actually then appear on the graph, at the top of the column where potential difference wouldn't fit. The units here, my units are volts. I could either write the word out, volts with a little v, or the symbol is capital V. Now you can see that it appears at the top of the table that I have delta V measured in volts. I'll do the same with Y. Its current, its short name is capital I. Units are milliamperes. Notice that as soon as the columns were updated, so were the axes on the graph. One thing I want to show you. Notice if I click on this box highlighted, I'm looking at the data table in Logger Pro. If I click over here, these little small boxes are saying now I'm interested in the graph. These are actually like two pieces of paper side by side. We can actually move this one on top of another. So don't be worried if you think something's disappeared. Odds are it's just slid to the back. Now with this, one last thing that I'm missing is still a title. So I'm highlighting on the graph. So when I go to Options, Graph Options will come up. Notice right now it's talking about Axis Options. I'm going to move this to Graph Options, and I'm going to put in my work. There's my title. One other thing that's important for us to point out, plot appearance. I have it as it's plotting symbols. That's why we get a dot with a little circle around it each time. Sometimes they connect the points on here. Now let me show you what it looks like. Now if you're in my class, you know I hate it when people play connect the dots. It doesn't look so much now because this is a straight line, but look what happens if I change one of these values. It's still playing connect the dot, and that's really not a good line of best fit. So please, what I would suggest you do, I'm going to click on my graph again, go up to options. Now I have graph options available. Graph options, turn off connect the points.